Hola amigos, bien o no, mis saludos desde Medellín. Hoy el tema es por qué leyendo puede ayudarnos mucho para mejorar nuestra fluidez, independiente con los estudios del gramático. Eso es otra cosa. Y también cómo leyendo puede ayudarnos para encontrar nueva inspiración para nuestros estudios. Ese es el caso de mí hoy. Por eso yo voy a compartir algo que yo leer hoy y explicar el resto del video. Listo. So, hello from Medellin. On a marvellous afternoon we have here today. So the theme of today really is reading, and why reading, particularly in our new language, can be a great help to us to help us understand more of the new language, and also to improve our fluency in a way that's quite independent of us studying things like grammar in a strict sense. Now obviously we need to understand some of the grammar rules and the spelling and what words mean what, but reading as well is another way to understand how the language works, because it's a way of seeing what type of expressions are possible. And as well as that, reading, well, has always been for me, and I hope perhaps for you, a way to help us reconnect with a sense of inspiration when that's something we feel we're lacking. And that was my case today. So because of that, I was thinking, well, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about today. So I resorted to one of my more favourite books. It's very interesting, all kinds of different stuff in here. So I was reading something from that, and there we go, I found a sentence in this that I'm going to share with you now, which is where I got the idea for the video today. Here we go. Writers don't read just for the story. They read for the way the story is written, and the way the sentences are put together is the information that sticks. So in that sense, we can see that reading helps us to see the possibilities of a language. It helps us to see what kind of expressions are possible, how we might use the language, and therefore it might give us some examples we'll be able to use ourselves. Now, it's not to say that's completely a replacement for studying at least some of the basics of grammar and things like that, because you do need to understand at least what you've read and recognise what that means. But it is another way of approaching the language. So rather like listening will give you access to a whole load of vocabulary that might be new to you, and there is a point of view where really just continuing listening and picking up an understanding of what's been said in the context of that listening, without necessarily trying to translate it, can work the same when we're doing reading. We can read it to get a general sense of what the topic's about without trying to translate it strictly. Also, by reading, we get to see literally how the words are put together, and by reading aloud, of course, we can borrow the writer's voice, if you like, to help us improve our own sound and our fluency in that sense. And as well, as we said earlier, reading generally is a nice way of taking a completely different viewpoint on something, to give your mind some type of a rest in a way, and just look at that point of view rather than using all your energy to think up your own. And often that gives you a different insight and maybe more inspiration to tackle other projects. So many reasons then why reading can be recommended, but not least for our purpose when we're trying to learn the new language. It's to find sentences that we can read aloud that help us practice our voice, but also perhaps give us a sense of phrases that we might be able to use in other conversations. So that's the idea for today. Déjame saber, como siempre, en los comentarios, how you find this one. I hope that was useful to you. But for now, from Medellin, we'll say cheerio.